All right, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. We love the support. So I hope these Hatha 1 classes are a great base for you, but know that some things just won't work for you at times. So if they do not, you can always email me, you can always message me, and I'd love to help you more. So today we're going to focus more on your feet, hamstrings, and a bit of your balance. So, a wall is a great support, a chair is a great support. And so in starting, you could sit as I am. I'm sitting cross-legged. I'm squeezing my legs together, or I'm pushing my thighs apart. I'm trying to sit up nice and tall, and then as I'm sitting, I may want to use my hands. So if you're sitting on a higher surface, you're creating more lift through the upper body, more through the spine. And then as you're lifting, I'm going to look over my right shoulder. I'm going to look over my left. I'm going to look over my right again. I'm going to look over my left. So let's just say you can't turn your head as far as you'd like. Give it some time, breathe, bring the head back to center, and then just bring the head down. And as you bring the head down, we're going to look up. You can lift the chin, you can lift the chest. So I'm trying to lift up away from my hands. I'm creating more width in my shoulders. By looking up, it's going to create more extension through the cervical, and it'll eventually create more lift in the thoracic, which is a different set of bones. They're much smaller. They won't move as much as the skeletal system of the neck. And then just bring the head down again. And when the head's down, you should feel a stretch through the back of the neck and the shoulders, very similar to like a shoulder stand or a plow. And then just lift the head back into a neutral position and recross the legs. So as you recross the legs, I'm going to take my left hand to the left and just reach the right hand to the right. So I'm moving forward in space to create more of a stretch in my hip and in my lower back. If I'm in the middle, it's just a different sensation. So if you don't necessarily know where to be, know that you could move to find the right angle, and that'll help you more. I could take the right hand behind my head, and then I could lift the chin, I can lift the chest, and as I'm turning my upper body to the right, I can lean back in space. I can create more of an opening in the chest and in the throat. And then I'm going to take the right arm out to the right. I'm going to bring myself back up. I'm going to recross the legs again, and then take the right hand to the right side, reach the left hand to the left. So how Noah's doing it is exactly how you could do it. So if I couldn't cross my legs, I'd have my legs out in front of me. But most likely if you can't cross the legs, you're probably compromising your upper body and hips. And that is why you probably going to be better off sitting on something higher. So lean forward, just see what that angle's like. Lean in the middle or lean back. And all these angles could be healthy for you. It's just a matter of what you need. Take the left hand behind the head, lift the chin, lift the chest, breathe in. So, you're going as far as you need to go. If I wanted more space in my body, I can strive for that, but I may not go as far as I want to just yet, because it's the beginning of the class. So take the left arm up to the left and then bring yourself back up. Take the legs forward, and with the legs forward, just circle the feet in a circular motion. So just get the feet to circle around.
Can't wait to do the rest of the class.
Let's circle around the opposite direction. And then what you'll do is you're going to bend the knees and have the hands underneath the shoulders. So push the hands on the floor, push through the feet, lift through the hips. As you lift through the hips, I'm going to rotate the shoulders out. So I'm up in a tabletop position. If it's really heavy in the feet, make the stance longer. If it's really heavy in the hands, you want to push very strong through the hands. So there's not a lot of weight bearing in the hands or the wrist. And then bring yourself back down. And then when you bring yourself back down, you're going to have your right leg forward and your left leg in. And I'm just going to brush my foot. So I'm using my hand. I could be brushing pretty strong. I can brush the inside of the foot, the sole of the foot, my toes. I could brush the outside of the foot, the top of the foot, right? And then what you're gonna do is, if you can, interlace your fingers into your toes. So you may have to use just your index finger. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just separating my toes with my index fingers. But if I could, I'm gonna shake hands with my right hand and my left foot. And then I'm gonna rotate the ankle, right, with the hand. And then I'm gonna rotate it in the opposite direction. So just circling the foot around. And then keep hold of the foot with the fingers, or just one finger, right? So whichever toe is really difficult for you, just that's the toe you want to work on, right? But I'm going to use my hands to palpate from your big toe to your heel. I'm using my thumbs to manipulate that. And it could be tight, it could be really resistant. I could manipulate the center of the foot or the outside of the foot. The heel of the foot in Chinese medicine is all lower back and hips. So that's something that you could work on in terms of stretching out. So release that and go back to the bent knee position. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. So push through the hands, lift the hips up off the floor. Now if you can't lift up, make it a rotation in the shoulders. You could take the head back as Noah is. If you're taking the head back, try to measure the nose to the ceiling or the wall. So if my head's all the way back, I'm going to be measuring my nose to the wall that's behind me. And then bring the head forward, bring the hips down, and then take the right leg onto the thigh, and then you're going to be brushing the foot with your left hand. And then, by brushing the foot, I could be getting the blood to circulate within the foot. You can brush the top of the foot. And it could be strong, right? Say you have really tight feet. This is gentle than, say, like some of the things that we'll do later in the class. So now with your fingers, interlace the fingers between the toes, or separate the toes just with the index finger. So I'm creating space between the toes. Now if I can, I'm going to interlace the fingers. So I'm shaking hands with my left foot, with my right foot with my left hand. So I'm going to circle the foot around. And then as I circle around, again, getting the ankle to move, because it may not move as much as we'd like it to just yet. And then come back into the hand in bent knee position. So push through the hands and lift through the hips. So make a dynamic opening of the shoulders and get the glutes to work. Not a really deep back bend, which is great, but over time, right, it can lead to deeper back bends. And then bring your hips down. And then when you bring your hips down, we're going to come into an all four position. So come onto your hands and your knees. So when you come on your hands and your knees, push through the hands, round the spine into a cat stretch. You can look forward, you can look up, you can back bend, you can exhale, you can round your back, you can back bend, you can lift the chin, you can lift the chest, and then you can exhale, you can round the spine, back bend again, lift the chin, lift the chest, and then you can exhale, you can round your back. So have the hands just underneath the shoulders, you're on the tops of the feet. So I'm rounding my shoulders, and I'm just going to lift my knees a little bit off the floor. So it's just a different variation of plank. So try to keep the weight in the front of the hands and push the floor away from you. So even if you get tired and you come down, it's the beginning of eventually holding it more. And then bring the knees down lightly, take the hands over to the right side and look high over the right shoulder. So lift the head, lift the chest. That's good. Take the hands over to the left side and look over the left shoulder. So a really easy way to help stretch out the sides of your body. And then you're going to bring the hands back into the middle, and what we're going to do is come up into a down dog. So you can tuck the toes. Yeah, and you can go up and back. And as you're back into a down dog, think I'm pulling your thighs back in space. Pull the hips back. Think I'm pulling the shoulders forward in space. Then push through the front of your hands. Now again, bend the knees if you need to. A great thing if you've never done it is take a photo of yourself from the side, a profile,
and see how your back is relating to the pose. So if you have a rounding of the back, I'd be bending the knees more. So what you're going to do is walk the hands back towards the feet, and you're in a forward fold. So in a forward bend, I'm going to soft bend, right? I'm just moving the weight forward and back. And then in moving the weight forward and back, I'm going to take the hands to the left side, changing the angle of my forward bend. So my legs are bent here. I'm in a bent position, so I'm stretching out more of my upper body. Take the hands to the right side, and then when the hands are to the right, keep lifting through the front of your body. So think that the front of the body is longer than, say, the posterior. Then take the hands back into the middle and roll yourself up into a standing position. So roll yourself up, and then when you roll up, you're going to hook the hands behind you. My hands are locked in a position, and just kind of feel how the weight sits in the feet. So come up on the toes. Typically when I teach this in class settings, I just hold a static hold, which you can certainly do, but we're going to come down with the heels and then bring yourself back up. Lower yourself back down. Come back up one more time and then lower down. So I'm still in the thumb lock, but I'm going to be on the outside of my right foot. So I'm bringing weight into the foot, and say you sprained your ankle at some point in time. It's still tender. It's still kind of injured, but over time you're bringing more and more weight into that, and it's preparing you so that if you ever do twist the ankle again, it won't be problematic. Bring the right foot back and then be on the outside of the left foot. And I've said this before, the more I stretch up my feet, the more I'll stretch up my hamstrings. So I have a good portion of weight into the outside of my foot. If you can't do that, it's fine, right? And then bring the foot flat. And we're going to take the feet out into a wide position. So I'm having my legs out wide. I'm going to turn my right foot out to the right. I'm going to lift the arms out to the side. I'm going to bend my right knee, and I'm going to lift the legs up and out into a warrior two. So get the weight into the heels of the feet. If you're flat through your feet, lift through the toes, and then you'll start to lift through the arches, and you'll have a good support where you're not falling into the feet, which falls into the knees, right? Bring the right forearm on the right thigh, being in a side bend. I've said this before, you really want good posture, be up against the wall. Lean up against the wall. So good for your posture. So if I bring my hand down lower, fantastic. If I take the left arm up to the ceiling, I'm going to turn the palm to the floor, which rotates the shoulder out. And then I'm bringing the left arm forward in space. So take a couple deep breaths here. That's good. Bring yourself back up into a warrior two, and use the feet, use the legs, widen the thighs. You're building a foundation for, again, using your legs more in a variety of ways within your yoga practice and in life. And then bring yourself back up, turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out, take the arms wide, lift the thighs up and out, broaden through the shoulders. Fantastic. And if you find yourself unstable, your back foot could be in a wall. There's really great ways that we could bring the front knee into a piece of furniture that's soft enough. And that's a great way of getting into the feet. Lift the thighs up and out. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring the left forearm on the left thigh. You could take the right arm up to the ceiling. You could turn the palm to the floor and then take it overhead. So as you take the arm overhead, you can think that I'm pushing into a countertop. So if Noah was pushing into me and I was pushing back, right, that would create more space in my shoulder. Thank you. And then you can come back up into a warrior two. And then we'll bring yourself back up. I'm going to turn the left foot in. Make the stance a bit shorter if you need to. Have the right foot turned out. Take the arms wide. And then reach out to the right. Grab the right shin, the foot, or the floor. A block obviously is good. And same as what I'm doing in the warm-up is I really want to find what's going to help me the most in terms of exposing my body. Again, I say this all the time, if I go into the same place, it's really the same experience. Take the left arm behind the back if you could. I'm trying to fit my hand up in between my shoulder blades. And then I'm using my hand as a reference like the wall that I suggested earlier. So I'm turning my upper body to the left. Take 2 deep breaths here. Again, your front leg could be bent. Everybody, no matter how inflexible you are, your back leg is straight. Take the left arm up to the ceiling, bring yourself back up, and turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. Take the arms wide, and then you're going to reach out to the left as you grab the left shin. The right arm is up. You're in a side bend. Fantastic. And then as you're in this side bend, take the right arm behind the back. It could be the hip. It could be behind you all the way. The right hand could be up in between the shoulder blades. And if you're right-handed, most likely it's going to be more difficult to take the arm back. So throughout the day, like, you could just have the arm behind you for 30 seconds, a minute from time to time. And that'll help really with the front of the shoulder. So take a couple deep breaths. Take the right arm up to the ceiling. Turn through the chest, broad shoulders. Eventually your triangle gets really efficient, and that's, in the Iyengar world, they hold triangles for a really long time, which is a great practice. You could bring yourself back up, and then when you come back up, just turn the left foot in, and then just step the feet back into a neutral position. So just bring the weight forward into the front of the toes, bring it into the heels, and now what we're going to do is just lift the front of your feet. It's really, really good for walking. So when people lose the dorsiflexion, yeah, exactly, like Noah's walking around on his heels, kind of hard to do if the surface is really hard. Like, we're on hardwood floors. This yoga mat is great, but it's really kind of thin. So I don't suggest walking around if it's, you're on like marble or something like that. But very good to lift up, and you'll strengthen the peroneals, which will help with flexing the feet. So we're going to come to the top of the mat, take the arms up overhead, and you can fold forward into a forward fold. So when you fold forward into a forward bend, you may want to use a chair or blocks. Step the left foot back into a lunge, and with the left foot back into a lunge, try to make it longer, try to make it a little bit wider. And then as you're making your stance longer and wider, we're going to come up, if we can, into a high lunge. So when you come up through the feet, lift up through the arms. So not that you have to be in this position, but when my heel is not down, you'll notice that you're more unstable. And then when you're more unstable, it's actually strengthening the feet. So the knee, it does not have to be over the ankle, because when you walk, it's going to move around, and it should have that ability. So it's getting stronger here. Just straighten the right leg out, take the arms down for a couple breaths, and go back to bending the right knee. Take the arms up into an overhead position. If you've ever had a yoga block in between your hands, that's an excellent way to get the arms to hug in and to open through the chest, open through the shoulders. Bring your hands on the floor and move your left foot in a little bit closer and have your right leg straight. Now I'm going to lift the front of my foot up off the floor. So I'm more in flexion. I put a block underneath the front of my foot. So this is another way to do it. And we'll do this later with the wall to really stretch out the calf muscle, which is difficult in terms of flexibility of the hamstrings. So take the hands onto a higher surface initially and get the sense that if that's where you need to be, or get the hands to be lower. And if I take my hands further back towards my left foot, then I'm getting more into the front of my leg. I'm trying to lift my leg to my face. Not that I'm picking it up off the floor, but I'm moving it up and in. And then I'm going to lose the block if I was using it, bend the right knee, and then step the left foot forward. So separate the feet a little wider than the shoulders. Again, if you have an external weight, hold the weight, hold a piece of furniture, squat. Again, if it's like, wow, this is a big stretch,
fantastic. You know, that's a good thing. And I get in the habit, again, if I don't have problematic joints, to squat a little bit, you know, 10 seconds here, 30 seconds. Eventually you can squat for a minute or longer. Fold forward into a forward fold, and then as you fold forward into a forward bend, you could be pulling on your feet if you want. All right, I'm gonna step the right foot back into a lunge, so the right foot is back and the left foot is forward. So with my left foot forward in space, I'm gonna come up into an overhead position. Hey, thanks for the help. You're such a great helper. And then bring yourself up into an overhead position. And then when you're up overhead, again, think that you're squeezing into a block, right? That you're hugging in. And again, when I'm unstable, it's training the feet more. So as you're training your feet, you know, you're training so that the feet becomes more pliable. Have the left leg straight for a couple of breaths. Lift yourself up in space. Go back to bending the left knee. And then as you bend the left knee, level out the pelvis. So get the pelvis to be more level. Bring the hands on the floor. When you bring the hands on the floor, move the right foot in a bit closer and then have the left leg strong and straight. So pull the left hip back in space. So you like lifting the front of the foot. You could do it without a block, but I put a block underneath the front of the foot and I'm pushing the foot into the block initially. And then I'm also trying to pull the foot and the leg away from the block. So it's getting me to lift the leg more internally, right? And the hands could be way forward, halfway up, a chair, right? You could get lower, take the hands back towards the back foot. The back heel is down for balance, but it could certainly be up. So take a couple deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. Lift the head, lift the chest, move the block off to the side or the top of the mat, bend the left knee and then step the right foot forward. So separate the feet again, width of the shoulders wider, come into a squat. And when you're squatting, move the weight around. You know, especially, you most likely have one ankle or one side that can squat. The other side might not be able to do that. So over time, we're trying to get more weight into that side. So come into a forward fold, hang all the way forward, bring the hands into the floor, step back into a plank. So when you step back into a plank, engage in the fingertips. You know, nothing crazy, but you're pushing pretty strong here, and you're getting more hollowed through the front of the body. And then take it back up into a down dog. Again, think I'm pulling your hips back in space. Think I'm pulling your shoulders forward in space. Lift the arms up and away from the floor. And then bring yourself forward into a plank. And then we're going to come as slow as we can, come all the way down. So if I come down on the knees, I still want to train getting stronger. So keep the connection in the arms and the shoulders, and then push the floor away from you as you come down. And then when you come down, take the arms into a cactus position. So a 90-degree angle with the arms. And then lift the arms up and away from the floor. And as you lift the arms, get broad through the shoulders. Get broad through your back. Bring the arms down for a moment. Inhale, take the arms up again. And then bring the arms down. Come up into a Sphinx pose. And then in Sphinx, pull yourself forward in space. So the elbows are slightly more forward than the shoulders. If you're already up in Cobra like Noah is, you know, that's what we eventually can do. Look over the right shoulder. Look high over the left. Look center. Right? And I'm going to try to take the feet up a little bit. So my feet are over my knees, a little bit more leverage in the back. It could be negative. Negative, you bring your feet down. So bring your upper body down, have your hands underneath your shoulders, and curl up into a low cobra and come down. So we're going to do this a couple times. Lift yourself up into a low cobra. Bring yourself down. Bring yourself up. And if you want to come up higher, you can come up into a higher position. I would, and I do this often,
if I have a big gap between my upper body and the floor, a block underneath your body is really great. So you might need it on the second level. And if it's just touching the belly or if it's touching the pelvis, you'll get, it'll take the pressure off your back. Because it's the lower back has more leverage in this type of position than anything. You can move the block out of the way and down. Come all the way down, have the hands just underneath the shoulders, and lift yourself up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. So go back and up, and then come down on the knees. And when you come down on the knees, tuck the toes, sit back on the feet if you can. Gradual, right? It's going to be uncomfortable, but you don't want to just grit your teeth and just do it, because you could really, hurt yourself. If I'm up, it's just a byproduct of doing it more and more. So take the arms all the way up overhead, squeeze the fists, right? Open the hands, squeeze the fists, open the hands, and then last time squeezing the fist, and then bring the hands back down. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, push the hands round through the upper back, and lift the knees up off the floor again. So you're more, again, it's just a little different. So at some point you get really good at plank. This variation can help you in getting a little bit stronger. Lower the knees, take the hands to the left side, look over the left shoulder, look over the right, walk the hands over the right shoulder, bring the head back into the middle, and then when you bring the head back into the middle or the hands back into the middle, tuck the toes, lift the knees, come up off into a plank. Now I'm going to use the block, again, just for an up dog. So I have my block just out in front of my knees. It's on the second level. You might find that that's too high, we bring it lower, right? Go back up into a plank, reach back through the heels. Now just measure, just bring your hips down. If the block is touching your knees, the block is too low. If it's in your hips, it's too high. So go back up into a down dog, and the block could be for your head too, right? And you can see that. So I'm gonna swing forward and through into an up dog. I'm gonna go into the block, and I wanna lift away from the floor, right? I'm using my glutes. Push back up into a down dog. Come forward, come through, go into the block. Lift through the sternum, lift through the collarbone, and go back up into a down dog. Pull back, and then come down onto your knees, and when you come down on your knees, sit back into a child's pose. So sometimes people have a hard time sitting back. So let's say it's one knee. Use one hand to kind of sit behind the left knee. I'm just using this as an example. It could be the right knee. Then you sit back. You could use a blanket, but sometimes it's easier to use your own body to adapt the pose. If it's the feet, roll up some blankets, sit back, right? Shouldn't be like unbearable. Come forward into a plank, and in a plank, we're gonna go up into a down dog. So go back, walk the feet forward, middle of the mat, walk the hands back towards the feet, and roll yourself up into a standing position. So roll yourself up, take the arms overhead, bend the knees, sit back with the weight, so the weight's in the heels, and then bring yourself back up, come up on the toes. Right? And then lower the heels. So I'm gonna be on the outside of my right foot. I'm gonna try to be on both of the outsides of my feet. So again, if you had something like a tear on the outside of the knee, this is like the worst thing for it. But again, if you just had a difficult time in moving the foot, this is why I'm doing it. And then just bring the feet back to being flat. So take the left leg up into the chest. Use a wall. Pull the knee into the chest with the hand as much as you need to. Take the left leg out to the left. and I say this all the time, find the angle that you need it the most. Like all the way out is a perfectly good thing to do, but you may actually need it more in the middle or more out at a 45-degree angle. Take it back into the middle, continue to try to lift the leg into the chest, and then bring the left foot down. Take the right leg up, use your right hand as much as you need to, pull it up into the chest, take it out to the side if you need to. Right? I'm trying to find, again, a greater strength in the leg and in the abdomen to lift the leg more. And that'll help with your flexibility. Take it back and then bring it down. So bring the left foot into the right shin or the ankle. So if you bring it up, you can use your hands. Right? Hands can be in a number of positions. You can take the arms all the way out. So if your arms are overhead, try to get your head in the alignment of your arms. If you have a lot of weight in your toes, your hips are too far forward. If you're balancing really easy, you might be compensating in some way. So take a couple deep breaths, bring the arms down, bring the left foot next to the right, step the right foot inside the shin or the thigh, take it up. And again, so you need the arms to counter the weight. You know, that's a good thing to do. Take the arms up into an overhead position. And as you're moving right, you're getting more stable. So it's good to be off balance. So at some point you want to do it with your eyes closed. You can close the eyes. That will definitely keep you off balance. You could bring the hands down, knee forward and the foot down. Have the feet together and just step the left foot in front of the right foot. So my feet are lined up, I'm in a straight line. And then as I'm using my feet, the back leg is really what's getting stronger. So if you can, close the eyes. Again, if you're stable, it might be that the feet are crooked. If you can, try to line up the feet more. Open the eyes, bring the left foot next to the right, step the right foot in front of the left foot. It's a great way to kind of see if one shoulder's more forward or one hip is forward. So you always tip out on one side. You know, some things, in terms of your structure, it's a little asymmetrical. Again, if you have good balance, you can close the eyes, and then you can open the eyes. And then what we're going to do is use some blocks or something that you need, right? We're going to do some variations of Warrior 3 if we can. So I'm going to come forward into a forward fold. As I come forward into a forward bend, I'm going to step the left foot back, bring the left heel down, come up into an overhead position. As you come up, lift through the pubic bone, drop through the tail. I take a couple deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. And then straighten the right leg out. Look up towards the hands. Keep moving yourself up towards your hands, your fingers. Go back to bending the right knee. And those of you that aren't doing Warrior 3, stick with Warrior 1. So come forward into a Warrior 3, balance on your right foot. Now I'm going to bring my hands down for a moment, which I really like. You don't have to do this. You can bring the hands up. I'm going to bring the hands into the chair, a block, or the floor. I'm going to take them up. I'm going to bring them back down. Right? And then I'm going to step back into my lunge. So stepping back, bring the back knee down the floor, take the right arm up to the ceiling. Just different when the hand is down. Bring the right hand down, walk the hands over to the left side, look high over the left shoulder. Right, bring the hands to the inside. And now I'm going to be on the outside of my right foot if I can. So foot could be flat, but I'm on the outside to focus more on the hip a little bit. And I'm going to push on the thigh, right? I could push with my forearm or my elbow if that's a better contact point. And then bring the right hand down on the inside and just kind of like what we did for getting your hands down is if you can, get your elbows down. But I know, again, some of you probably struggle with this. You can get down and then come up. You can go down, you can come up.
Right? Just be really aware of going up and down, and be really aware if you're down already and knowing when to come out. Yeah, that's an excellent thing to go by. Right? Come up onto the hands. When you come up onto the hands, sit the hips back in space, point through the front foot, flex it, point it, and flex it. Now take the left hand, if you can, on the outside of the right leg and lift the leg into the chest. So try to lift it into the chest, and that'll get you more forward over the leg. Right? And then come back into the lunge again. Into a lunge, take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high, left hand is low, twisting the body to the right. Bring the right hand down and then step the left foot forward. Again, use an external weight, hold a piece of furniture, come into your low squat if you can. And again, be really honest. And again, as you are really honest with what you can or cannot do, you'll definitely advance. You'll progress. But if we're just kind of, again, kidding ourselves, it's just like, it can create an injury. So full forward into a forward fold, into a forward bend. Take the hands to the left side. Take the hands to the right. Right, bring the hands back in the middle. Look at the toes and try to spread the toes more with your thumbs or your fingers. So my baby toes kind of creep in. So I don't do this all the time, but I do separate my toes with my hands when I feel like I need it, right? Step the right foot back, bring the right heel into the floor, and come up into a warrior one. So when you come up, you want to use the strength of the feet, the legs, as opposed to just whipping yourself up. So tailbones down, pubic bones up. Again, that could be in a thumb lock. So squeeze the legs to the midline, and as you squeeze in, get smaller and stronger through the front of your body. Have the left leg straight, look up towards the hands, the fingers. Drive through the feet, lift yourself up in space. Go back to bending the left knee, and again, that can be your sequence. So I'm going to come forward into warrior three. I'm going to balance on the left foot. Once I come forward, I could stay here, arms could be back, arms could be overhead. I'm going to take the hands down into blocks or the floor or a chair. I'm going to bring myself back up, holding, bring the hands down. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it down if I can. Hold for a couple breaths here. I could be extending if you want to protect your back. You could be going towards the leg if you want to get more flexible with this. Step the right foot back, and with the right foot back, you're going to bring your back knee down the floor. Then take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high and the right hand is low. Eventually it can be the elbow that's the contact point. On a block at first and then the floor. So bring the left hand down, walk the hands over to the right side, and look high over the right shoulder. So keep mobilizing the neck, and you'll see how your flexibility improve. You'll be able to see more what's around you. Bring the hands on the inside of the foot, and you can get lower. Again, these could be elbow taps. Just before you get down, because I forgot this, stay on the hands and push into the left thigh. So when you push, see if you need the leverage. If it hurts, don't push, but the leverage can help with both right and left hip. Bring the left hand down, and then if I'm getting lower, I could come down and come up. Drive through the feet. Like still think you're in a warrior pose. And as you're pushing through the feet, you'll really start to see how you'll stretch out more through the hips and hamstrings. So come up onto the hands. When you come up onto the hands, bring the left hand on the outside of the left foot, and then sit the hips back in space. So you can point through the foot, you can flex it, you can point it, and you can flex it. Now I'm going to take the right hand on the outside of the left ankle, and again, I'm thinking that I'm doing like Navasana. So I'm lifting the legs in that pose, right? And that's what can help you in forward bending.
You could also be driving the heel down. That'll help with the back of the leg. Again, both excellent ways of doing the pose. Come forward where you're going to take the back knee off the floor and take the left arm up to the ceiling again. So the left arm is high and the right hand is low. So if you couldn't do side plank, this is why I do this so often, is it prepares you eventually do that. So take the left hand down and then step the right foot forward. And then with the right foot forward, you're in a soft forward bend. You're hanging forward over your legs. So come down onto your hands and your knees. And when you come down on your hands and your knees, you're just in a hand and these are scapula push-ups. So again, if you couldn't do a push-up, you don't ever have to do a push-up, but this can help you lead to doing a push-up. So push through the hands round through the shoulders, and then just let the chest drop down in between the arms, and then push through the hands around your back. Let the chest sink down in between the arms, and then push through the hands, right? And then keep that, and you're going to step back into a plank. So grip the floor, reach back through the heels. Maybe you can't do plank, you're on your forearms. All fours still. I'm going to spin my heels to the right side. I'm going to take the left arm up to the ceiling. So again, I want to resist the floor. I want to push very hard initially. And that's what you're doing in hand balancing, right? Bring the left hand down and then spin the heels to the left. Keep the shoulder over the hand. Take the right arm up. And again, this is really very similar to doing a handstand. So it's great prep work for a handstand eventually. So bring the right hand down and go back up into a down dog. So pull back through the thighs, pull back through the hips, right? And then come back down under the knees and sit on a block on the lowest, second, or highest level. Sit on 2 blocks if you need to. And then just take the hands forward and just flick the fingers. So get the fingers to move. And then circle or just individually move the fingers. So try to move them. Then just move the right hand. And then just move the left hand. Right? And then just having the hands in fists, you're just going to circle the fists, which will strengthen the forearms. So modern yoga is a lot on the hands, not that it has to be, but it's very good at strengthening the upper body the more you're on your hands. So just have the hand into a fist and just pull back on the hand to stretch out the wrist. The wrist will help the shoulders. The shoulder work that you do will help your wrist, your hands. You can make your left hand into a fist and then pull back. Take 2 deep breaths. Right? And then you can release that. And then just, if you can, try to sit a little lower. Doesn't work, go back to the original position. My legs are hugging in. Pull back on the skin of the knees. That'll take the pressure off the knees. Again, it's very good to sit high. It's when I'm meditating and doing my breath work, I'm always up higher. I'm not low. When I'm doing deeper back bends, I am working lower for that. Same thing if you want to, sit lower. And this Virasana is really good in rotating the shins where they need to be. So if the feet do certain things, like they deviate, you'll notice the shins just have a natural way of moving in that direction. So I twist very well to my left. That's why my left shin turns out more than my right. There's ways to turn it back in. Something that I'll show at some point. So come off the feet, take the legs forward, and then circle the feet into a big circular motion. So when you're taking the feet out into a big motion, think of a bigger circle, right? And then circle around the opposite direction. Right? And then point the feet, flex the feet, point them, and flex them. Now, you're going to bring the Achilles tendon in between the big toe. And then you're going to try to do that on the second and the third toe. And then you're going to try to bring it in between this, the third and the fourth. It gets trickier the further you get down. And then you can try to bring it in between the baby toe and the fourth toe. And you could do that on the other side. So I'm bringing the Achilles tendon up in between. I'm going to try to bring it in between the second and the third toe. And then I'm going to bring it in between the third and the fourth. Again, just take your time. Use your hands like we did in the very beginning of class if that works better. You can try to get it in between the fourth and the baby toe, the fifth toe. And then go back. Have the knees bent. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Push through the hands. Elevate through the hips. Broad shoulders. Broad upper back. Take the head back in space. Bring the hips down. And then just bring the feet slightly more forward. And just move the hips forward towards the feet just for a moment. And then bring it back. So, got some pain in the elbow. Don't bring the hips forward like this. But over time, just bring it forward a bit. Take it back. Do it 2 more times. Bring it forward. A little bit of stress in the shoulder can really be all that you really need. Bring it back. 1 more time, lift it up. And then bring it forward. And say you're like, oh, I really want to hold this. Of course you can do that. And then bring the hips back in space. So just have the legs in. Wrap the arms around the legs. Push the knees out into the arms. Look up towards the ceiling. As you look up, you're in full extension. Right? And then you can bring the head forward and you can release the arms and the legs. So I'm going to go to the wall. Something that I don't teach a lot in these classes, but I think it's very good to open up the front of the body. So what you'll do is if you have a piece of furniture rather than a wall, you put your foot on the furniture rather than the wall. So I'm going to fold up my mat. So when I fold up my mat, it's just for some extra padding. If you're on carpeting, you may not actually even need your mat, right? So I'm going to pull it back up against the wall. That's if I'm bringing my knee all the way to the wall. So if I'm not bringing my knee all the way back, I don't have to pull my mat to the furniture or the wall. So when I go back, I'm going to bring, and you probably need your blocks for your hands. So if you have blocks, great, or a chair, fantastic, right? Step the right foot back up against the wall. Now, if you're up against the wall, this is really hard on the foot. So you may need a towel or something for the foot. But I'm going to try to step my left foot forward. So if I'm in a lunge, it's more stress. Right? It's not necessarily better. I can stay on both knees. But the front of your body is really what's tight. It's not just the hamstrings. I'm doing this more often in my Fridays class, and that's a higher level class, but this is an excellent thing to eventually work up to. Like I said, if my foot's free above a piece of furniture, that's a great way of starting. And when I teach this in classes, say someone that has more, you don't have to sit up like me, but there's more stress in the leg if you are. Even someone that's, young, very able, this can be very difficult for them too. So it's why I like it. But imagine I'm on my back doing this, and that's eventually what you can do. That's, down the road. Bring your hands down. Now, how I like to transition this is I step the left foot back as well. So whichever foot is in front, you're going to bring that knee back, right? And then bring the right foot forward into a lunge. And when you bring it forward, again, your knee could be way forward. It doesn't have to be as far back as I have it. I don't have it all the way back up against the wall, but it can be. Just giving you an example. So when I'm low like this, I can manipulate the weight. Just sitting on blocks like we did earlier in the class is a great way. And that might be better to work on, right, initially. But at some point, you might be like, oh, my hip flexor, my psoas, this is so chronically tight. This is a great way to help with that, right? And again, if you wanted more stress, in the leg and in the upper body, I come upright. I have a history of, I wrestled as a youth. So this area is still tight for me, but it's not it's not really that difficult for me because I've been in those positions so often. But it just takes practice, and some people just are chronically tight through here. All the more reason to do it more frequently, and that could be like 3-4 times a week, right? So push strong through the right foot or the left, and then what you'll do is you'll come out of that, and then when you come out of that, just have your legs, just sit back on the feet if you can, just to test it out, and you can kind of see like the difference, how it is in your legs. And then what we're going to do is lie back on your back, have your strap with you, and we'll stretch out your legs. So when I do deep folds, I always like to straighten out the legs after. So you can have your block with you, just straightening out my mat. Once you lie back on your back, go into like having your feet underneath your knees. And with your feet underneath your knees, have your hands over your elbows and push through the feet and lift through the hips, lift through the lower back. And as you push through the feet and you're lifting through the hips, you're getting this great extension. Think I'm pulling your hips forward towards your feet. And the wall work and the footwork that you did today should help you to use your feet more. That's why I did it today. And then bring the hips down, take a couple breaths, let the knees rest in. So we're getting closer to the end. Some of you might like a longer rest. You could be already doing that, right? I'm gonna take the right leg up into the strap. As you take the right leg up, hold with both hands, push through the foot, come up with the upper body if you want to. If my lower back is pushing in the floor, you may not want to push all the time, right? Your back is obviously in contact, but just if you don't have the flexibility in the leg, you'll notice that the back rounds. Something we want to avoid. So come down and then hold with the left hand and cross the right leg over the left. Just a simple crossing of the leg, getting into IT band, the outside of your hip. I can have the strap, I can hold the strap lower where I can get my elbow to the floor. But, say you really want to work towards getting your foot, work towards that. That's a great thing to work towards. And then take the left leg up into the strap. I'm just going to change my position so that I don't run into the wall. But you could take the left leg up, and as you take the left leg up, you could, come up with the head and the shoulders. You can really pull back. All right, I'm gonna take hold of the strap with my right hand, and then cross my left leg over my right. So to get into my IT band, to get into my lower back, twisting to the left. Right, deep breathing. And then taking the left leg up, and then you can bring the left leg down. So if you want to set yourself up for bridge, I'm gonna have the block underneath me on the lowest level. So I'm gonna lift the hips. You want to do an active level, of course you can do that. But I'm just resting where my sacrum is on the block, and then with my sacrum on the block, I could just let my knees kind of fall in. Some days, you want to make it easy and not overwhelming. And then there's going to be times that you want to stretch it out more. So if I take my left leg forward, whole left side's opening, and take my right leg forward, it's my whole right side that's developing, Both legs could be forward. As time goes on, you want to change the height. You can make it higher, you can make it lower. And say you just want to relax. So those of you that are back bending, you could stay in the back bend. Those of you that are done with this, you could take the block out and you could sit or just be with your legs straight out. So I've said this before, if you have more of a posterior kind of effect in the lower back, put something underneath your lower back. And if that doesn't work, put something like a rolled up towel underneath your neck. So for a class like this, have a towel or a blanket. And those are really, really great things to do and use. And it's kind of like a contour pillow, for your head when you sleep. So let your body be heavy, let it relax. Think that your body's expanding into the space that's around you. The floor is great because it is hard. And not that a bed is bad, but the floor really helps in creating better posture. So whether it's bridge or fish, those are great things. Relax into your eyes, your scalp. Let yourself completely go. So I would be happy if you stay on your back and you continue to relax, but if you're ready to move again, you could wiggle your fingers, you could wiggle your toes, you could swallow a couple times. Now if you come up and you sit, you can sit nice and tall and upright. So if I'm sitting in an upright position, I want to be strong, I want to level myself out. So you could turn your palms up, you can slide your hands back to the center of your thighs. You don't have to bring your hands together, but if it's in you and you're grateful for whatever that may be, that's why we bring the hands together. So I hope you had a great class.
Namaste.
Namaste. We love the support. So if you want to Venmo me or PayPal me, those accounts are in my name. It's Jon Witt Yoga. 10% of the proceeds goes to making more masks for people on the West and the East Coast. We love the support. It helps me help more people. So share my information with people if you can. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and you'll get all these classes that I've been doing online, and you'll always have them. I hope they're helping you. Let me know how it's going. Have a beautiful weekend. If I don't see you tomorrow in class, that class is 10 a.m. to 11 on Zoom. Register on my website. It's jonwittyoga.com. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay, yay.